Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. It begins with a simple act of kindness, but little does he know, it will change his life forever. Now, let's return to the story of Olivia Grant. To be continued. As the night wore on, the gala continued with a steady hum of laughter, clinking glasses, and soft music drifting through the air. But for Olivia, it felt as though the world had slowed down, all noise fading away as she stood face to face with Liam Parker. She tried to focus on her surroundings, but his presence had a way of pulling her in, making it hard to think about anything else. She could feel his gaze on her, not just as a donor or an influential figure, but as a man truly interested in who she was beyond the walls of this hospital. She took a deep breath and glanced at the rest of the room, trying to avoid his intense stare. "So, Liam, what is it that brings you to this event?" she asked, her voice steady. But she could hear the curiosity in her own words. She had been around influential people all her life, but this felt different, more personal. He wasn't just a face in the crowd. He was someone who wanted to know her. Liam leaned in slightly, his smile never faltering. "I could ask you the same question," he replied. "But in my case, I suppose it's because of my mother. She was treated here, and I thought it was time to give something back." His voice softened, and Olivia could see the sincerity in his eyes. She had heard about his philanthropic efforts before, but hearing him speak so openly about his mother added another layer of depth to his persona. Olivia nodded, her gaze dropping for a moment before she looked up again. "That's noble of you," she said, her tone warm but guarded. "This hospital has been my second home for years. I'm just doing my part to ensure it continues to thrive, especially now with all the changes we're facing." She paused, glancing at the crowd. "But enough about me. You're clearly a man of many talents. I didn't expect to meet someone like you here." She forced a small smile, still unsure of where this conversation was heading. He chuckled lightly, shaking his head. "I'm not so special," Liam said. "I just try to make a difference where I can. But I think you're being too modest. Everything I've heard about you suggests you're exactly the kind of person this hospital needs." His words caught her off guard, and for a brief moment, she found herself speechless. Before she could respond, a staff member walked over to them, interrupting their conversation. "Mr. Parker, we're ready for your speech," the staff member said, his tone polite but insistent. Liam glanced at Olivia with an apologetic smile. "Duty calls," Liam said, taking a step back. "But I'd love to continue our conversation later, Olivia. There's a lot more I'd like to know about you. Maybe we could sit down over coffee sometime. No speeches, no crowds. Just us." His invitation was casual, yet there was an undercurrent of something deeper, something Olivia couldn't quite place. Olivia nodded, unsure of what to say. Her mind was racing. Why was he so interested in her? She had spent her life giving everything to this hospital, keeping her personal life under wraps. But Liam's presence seemed to challenge that, pulling her out of her comfort zone. She had always been cautious around powerful men, especially those who seemed too good to be true. As Liam walked away, she felt a strange mixture of emotions. Part of her wanted to turn and leave the gala, retreating to the quiet of her office, where she could think without distractions. But another part of her, the part that had been buried for so long, felt an unexpected pull. What would it be like to have someone truly see her, not just as a professional or a leader, but as a person? The evening dragged on, but Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted inside her. She had always been about the mission, about the patients, about the hospital. But now, Liam's words kept echoing in her mind. "I'd love to continue our conversation later." She didn't know what it meant or where it would lead, but one thing was certain. Liam Parker was not like anyone she had ever met before. As the gala came to a close and people started to trickle out, Olivia found herself standing by the window, looking out over the city skyline. The lights below twinkled like stars, but she felt far from peaceful. What was happening to her? Why did she feel so unsettled? Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Rachel. "So, did the billionaire sweep you off your feet, or what?" Olivia chuckled softly, shaking her head as she typed her reply. Not yet, but we'll see. She paused before sending the message, her thoughts wandering back to Liam. Could this be the start of something she never expected? She wasn't sure. But there was a part of her, a part she hadn't listened to in years, that was curious to find out. The night ended, but for Olivia, the questions were just beginning. Who was Liam Parker really? And what did he see in her? She didn't have answers yet, but she was starting to realize that the road ahead might be one she hadn't planned for. To be continued. The days following the gala were a blur for Olivia. Between managing hospital affairs and navigating the complex web of patient care, she had little time to think about Liam Parker or the strange connection she felt during their brief conversation. But no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't shake the memory of his eyes, the way he had looked at her, as though he was seeing something no one else had ever noticed. She had to admit, a part of her was curious about him, but she couldn't allow herself to get distracted. After all, she had responsibilities, a mission to fulfill. Her work came first. However, Liam wasn't so easily forgotten. A few days after the gala, Olivia received an email from him, subject line, "Coffee sometime." The message was simple, but his tone was unmistakable, gentle, yet sincere. He thanked her for her time at the gala and expressed a genuine desire to continue their conversation, suggesting they meet for coffee at a small cafe downtown. Olivia stared at the screen for a long moment, her fingers hovering over the keyboard as she debated whether or not to respond. She could feel her heart racing as she typed out a reply. It was so unlike her to meet someone outside the confines of her professional world, especially a man like Liam. But there was something about his invitation that felt different, like he wasn't just trying to get to know the professional Olivia Grant, but the real her, the woman who had spent years building her career while burying any personal desires under layers of duty and responsibility. After a few seconds of hesitation, she pressed send. The following morning, Olivia walked into the cafe, her heart still fluttering with nervous excitement. She spotted Liam right away, sitting at a small table by the window. His presence was calm, composed, but there was an energy about him that made her pulse quicken. As she approached, he stood up with a warm smile, and for a brief moment, everything else around her seemed to fade away. "Olivia," he said, his voice smooth and welcoming. "It's good to see you again." "Likewise," Olivia replied, offering a small smile as she sat down across from him. There was an awkward pause before she spoke again. "I'll admit, I didn't expect to hear from you after the gala." Liam's smile deepened, and he leaned in slightly, his eyes never leaving hers. "Well, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had more to talk about. I was hoping you'd feel the same." Olivia couldn't help but feel a little flustered by his directness. She wasn't used to men being so forward with her, especially in such a casual setting. But there was something comforting about his presence, something that made her feel seen, not just as the hospital director or the woman everyone depended on, but as herself. They spent the next hour talking about everything and nothing, about the city, the weather, and even their favorite books. It felt surprisingly natural, like they had known each other for far longer than a single meeting at a gala. For once, Olivia allowed herself to relax, to step away from the constant pressure that had consumed her life for years. It was refreshing to just talk with someone who wasn't constantly focused on her title or her professional accomplishments. But even in the midst of their easy conversation, Olivia couldn't completely let down her guard. She couldn't ignore the nagging feeling in the back of her mind that Liam wasn't just an ordinary man. He had money, influence, power, and those things had a way of complicating relationships. What did he want from her? Was he just fascinated by her work, or was there something more to his interest? As if reading her thoughts, Liam suddenly shifted in his seat, his tone turning slightly more serious. "Olivia," he began, his voice steady but filled with an earnestness that made her heart skip a beat. "I've been thinking about what you said at the gala. You told me that this hospital, this place, means everything to you. That's the kind of dedication I respect." He paused, studying her carefully. "But I also know it must be hard. The pressure, the loneliness. You carry the weight of it all on your shoulders, don't you?" Olivia's breath caught in her throat. It was as if Liam had somehow peeled back the layers she had so carefully constructed over the years. She hadn't realized how much she had been hiding from everyone, including herself. He was right, of course. The weight of her responsibilities often felt unbearable, and there were times when she wondered if she was the only one who truly understood the sacrifices she had made. For a moment, Olivia didn't know what to say. She opened her mouth, but the words caught in her throat. Finally, she exhaled slowly and gave him a small nod. "It's a lot to bear sometimes," she admitted softly. "But it's what I signed up for." Liam leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. "I get that. But I also know that you deserve more than just a thankless job. You deserve to be seen for who you really are, not just for what you can do for everyone else." His voice softened as he spoke, and Olivia felt a warmth spread through her chest. Her eyes met his, and for a moment, she saw something in his gaze that made her heart beat faster. It wasn't just sympathy. It was admiration. Genuine admiration. And maybe, just maybe, she had been too focused on her work to see that there were people, like Liam, who saw her as more than just a leader or a director. But as the conversation continued, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting was just the beginning. What would happen next? Would Liam continue to want to be a part of her world, or was this all just a passing moment? The uncertainty hung in the air, but for the first time in a long while, Olivia wasn't afraid to face it. To be continued. As the weeks passed, Olivia found herself thinking about Liam more and more. Their coffee date had left her with a sense of unease, but also a strange feeling of comfort. Liam had become a presence in her life that she couldn't quite ignore, and though she tried to focus on her work, his words kept echoing in her mind. He had seen her in a way no one else had. For the first time in a long while, she wondered if there was more to life than just her career. Despite the whirlwind of her responsibilities at the hospital, Olivia couldn't help but feel a pull toward Liam. His kindness, his sincerity, it was so different from what she was used to. He wasn't just another wealthy businessman trying to get ahead. No, there was something genuine about him that made her question everything she thought she knew about relationships and trust. One afternoon, as she sat in her office going over patient files, her phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Liam. The message was simple, but it sent a wave of butterflies through her stomach. Asterisk, "Olivia, I hope you're doing well. I know you're busy, but I was wondering if you'd like to join me for dinner this Friday. Just the two of us. I'd really like to spend more time getting to know you." Asterisk. Olivia stared at the screen, her heart racing. She had been trying to push thoughts of Liam out of her mind, but now, with this message, it all came rushing back. Could she really do this? Could she go on a date with him, knowing that it might complicate things even more? She had spent so many years focused solely on her work, shutting out the idea of anything beyond that. But as she looked at the message again, she realized something. For the first time in years, she was being asked out by someone who wasn't focused on her position or what she could do for them. Liam was interested in her, Olivia, the woman behind the title. The idea of spending time with him, of possibly seeing where this could go, was tempting. After a moment of hesitation, she typed a quick reply. Asterisk, "Dinner sounds nice. I'd love to. See you Friday." Asterisk. As soon as she hit send, a wave of nervous excitement washed over her. She couldn't explain why this felt different, why she was so drawn to Liam. But she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't ready to let this connection slip away. The days leading up to Friday seemed to drag on. Olivia found herself daydreaming more than usual, her thoughts drifting to the upcoming dinner. What would it be like to spend time with Liam outside of the hospital? Would it feel just as easy as their conversations had been in the past? Or would the walls she had built around herself prove to be too much for her to let down? Finally, the evening arrived. Olivia stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the simple but elegant dress she had chosen for the night. It was nothing extravagant, but she wanted to feel comfortable. She didn't want to impress Liam with her looks. She wanted him to see her for who she truly was. The woman who had worked tirelessly to get to where she was, but who also longed for something more, something real. When she arrived at the restaurant, a cozy little Italian place Liam had chosen, he was already waiting for her. His back was turned, and for a moment, she simply stood in the doorway, watching him. He looked so relaxed, so at ease. She felt a pang of nervousness. Was she ready for this? But when he turned and saw her, his smile was immediate and genuine. He stood up, greeting her with warmth that instantly made her feel at home. "Olivia," he said, his voice smooth, "I'm so glad you came." His eyes sparkled with sincerity, and Olivia felt the knot in her stomach loosen just a bit. They sat down and began to chat, starting with light conversation. The tension that Olivia had expected didn't come. Instead, the night felt natural, like they had been having dinner together for years. Liam was thoughtful, asking her about her work, her life outside of the hospital, and genuinely listening to her answers. She found herself opening up in a way she hadn't in a long time. As the evening progressed, Olivia realized that this wasn't just a dinner between two people getting to know each other. It was the beginning of something more. She had always kept herself at arm's length, afraid to let anyone get too close. But with Liam, it felt different. He wasn't pressuring her, wasn't expecting anything from her. He simply wanted to be with her, to share a meal and a conversation, just like two people who enjoyed each other's company. By the end of the night, Olivia felt something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Maybe it was the way Liam had listened so intently when she spoke, or the way he made her feel like she mattered. Maybe it was just the realization that there was more to life than work. Whatever it was, Olivia couldn't deny that she was excited to see where this connection could go. As they said goodnight outside the restaurant, Liam looked at her with a soft smile. "Thank you for tonight, Olivia. I really enjoyed it. I hope we can do this again sometime." Olivia returned his smile, her heart fluttering in her chest. "I'd like that too," she said softly, before stepping into her car. As she drove home, she couldn't help but replay the night in her mind. Maybe this was the beginning of something special. Maybe, for the first time in a long time, she was finally opening herself up to the possibility of love. To be continued. The days after their dinner felt like a whirlwind for Olivia. She found herself thinking about Liam more often than she cared to admit. Every time her phone buzzed, she hoped it was him, and when it wasn't, there was a small pang of disappointment. Yet, she couldn't allow herself to get too caught up in it. She had responsibilities at the hospital, important, life-altering work that demanded her full attention. But no matter how hard she tried to push thoughts of Liam aside, his words, his smile, the way he had made her feel that night lingered. As time went on, Liam didn't just fade into the background. He kept reaching out, sending texts and emails, small gestures that made Olivia feel something she hadn't in years: special. He would ask how her day was going, invite her to casual lunches, or occasionally, surprise her with a message saying he was thinking about her. Olivia found herself looking forward to these moments, even if they were brief. One afternoon, as Olivia was wrapping up a meeting in her office, her assistant knocked and entered with a package. "This just arrived for you, Dr. Grant," the assistant said, handing her the neatly wrapped parcel. Olivia frowned slightly, puzzled. She hadn't ordered anything recently. She carefully opened the package, revealing a small, elegantly designed book. The cover read, "The Art of Letting Go," and there was a small card tucked inside. She pulled it out and read the handwritten note. Asterisk, "I thought you might enjoy this. Liam." Asterisk, a smile crept onto Olivia's face. She didn't know why, but something about the thoughtful gesture touched her deeply. It wasn't extravagant or over the top. It was simple, personal, and exactly what she needed. She felt a warmth spread through her chest as she placed the book on her desk, her thoughts drifting back to him. Liam had been consistent, steady in his interest, and for the first time in a long time, Olivia felt like maybe it was time to let go of some of her defenses. That evening, Olivia found herself sitting on her couch, curled up with the book Liam had sent. She hadn't expected to find herself so moved by a simple gesture. The book was about embracing change, learning to trust, and, most importantly, letting go of fear. Olivia realized how much of her life had been controlled by fear. The fear of failure, the fear of not living up to expectations, the fear of letting others get too close. She had built walls around herself for so long that she'd forgotten what it felt like to simply live without the constant pressure. Just as she closed the book and set it aside, her phone buzzed again. It was a message from Liam. Asterisk, "I was thinking of you today. How about another dinner soon? I'd like to see you again, Olivia. I think we have a lot more to talk about." Asterisk, her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't realized how much she had missed him until that moment. She quickly typed out a response. Asterisk, "Dinner sounds wonderful. I'd like that too." Asterisk, the following Friday, Olivia and Liam met once again. This time, it wasn't just a casual dinner. It felt like a step forward, an opportunity to really get to know one another. As they sat down at a quiet table in a cozy restaurant, Liam looked at her with a smile that made Olivia feel as though the world was a little less heavy. "You look beautiful tonight," Liam said, his voice low but sincere. Olivia smiled, her cheeks flushing slightly. She wasn't used to compliments, especially not from someone as successful and attractive as Liam. But there was something genuine in the way he spoke, as if he truly saw her. "Thank you," Olivia replied, feeling a bit shy under his gaze. "You always know how to make a person feel special." They spent the evening talking about their pasts, their dreams, and what had brought them to this point. Liam shared more about his childhood, the struggles he had faced growing up in a small town before becoming the man he was today. Olivia found herself listening intently, realizing how much they had in common, how both of them had fought hard to get where they were. By the end of the night, they were walking out of the restaurant, the cool evening air brushing against their skin. Liam turned to her, his expression softening. "Olivia," he said quietly, "I know we're still figuring this out, but I just want you to know that I'm here. Whatever you need, whenever you need it." Olivia looked up at him, her heart swelling. She had never felt this kind of connection with anyone before, not this raw, this real. She hadn't realized how much she had been craving someone who would see her as more than just the hospital director, someone who would see her as a woman. For the first time in years, Olivia allowed herself to believe that maybe she didn't have to do it all alone. Maybe she could trust Liam. Maybe she could let him in. The idea was terrifying, but also thrilling. She smiled softly, her eyes meeting his. "Thank you, Liam. I think I'm starting to believe that too." As they parted ways that evening, Olivia couldn't help but feel a sense of peace wash over her. The walls she had so carefully built were beginning to crumble, and for the first time in a long while, she felt like maybe, just maybe, it was okay to let someone in. To be continued. The weeks that followed felt like a delicate dance between Olivia and Liam. Every encounter, every conversation brought them closer, yet neither of them dared to push too fast. Olivia found herself savoring their time together, whether it was a simple lunch or an evening walk. She had always kept her emotions tightly guarded, but with Liam, she found it harder to keep up the walls. There was something about his presence that made her feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. As the days passed, Liam's gestures became even more thoughtful. He would send her little texts during the day just to check in, or suggest they meet for a casual coffee when she needed a break from the hospital's pressures. Olivia couldn't remember the last time she had felt this way, this relaxed, this open. It was a side of herself she thought she had lost long ago. Yet, there was still a part of her that hesitated. Was this real? Or was she just allowing herself to fall for someone who, in the end, would never understand the weight of her responsibilities? One afternoon, as she was walking out of the hospital, Olivia received another unexpected message from Liam. Asterisk. "I know you've been working hard. How about a weekend getaway? Just the two of us. A little break from everything. I think you deserve it." Asterisk. Olivia stared at the message, feeling a rush of emotions. A weekend away with Liam. Was she ready for that? She had always kept her life centered around work, and the thought of taking time for herself felt almost foreign. But then again, maybe it was just what she needed. Maybe it was time to stop putting up walls and start living a little. She quickly typed back. Asterisk. That sounds amazing. I think I could use a break. Asterisk. As soon as she sent the message, a small smile tugged at her lips. She didn't know why she was nervous, but she was. There was something about taking that step, about allowing herself to take a break from her constant work and pressure, that felt freeing yet daunting at the same time. The weekend came faster than Olivia expected, and before she knew it, she found herself standing at the entrance of a cozy, secluded cabin in the woods. The place was small but beautiful, warm, inviting, and surrounded by nature. Liam had made all the arrangements, and she couldn't help but feel touched by how much effort he had put into making this weekend perfect for her. "I thought this would be the perfect place for you to relax," Liam said as they walked inside, his hand gently brushing against hers. "I know how much you carry on your shoulders, Olivia. You deserve a little peace." She smiled at him, her heart swelling at his words. It was moments like this, moments when he truly understood her, that made everything else seem less important. She felt the weight of her worries and responsibilities begin to lift, even if just for a weekend. They spent the next couple of days exploring the woods, enjoying long walks, cooking dinner together, and having conversations that went deeper than either of them had expected. As they sat by the fireplace one evening, Olivia found herself looking at Liam with a sense of clarity. There, in the warmth of the firelight, With the soft crackling sound filling the room, she realized just how much she had come to care for him. She wasn't just falling for him out of loneliness or the desire for someone to share her life with. She was falling for him because of who he was, his kindness, his understanding, his genuine interest in her well-being. It wasn't about the money or the lifestyle. It was about the connection they had built together. Liam looked over at her, his gaze steady and soft. "Olivia," he said quietly, his voice carrying a sincerity that made her heart race. "I've been thinking a lot about us. I know we've been taking it slow, and I respect that, but I need you to know that I'm serious about this. About you. I'm not going anywhere." Olivia felt a lump form in her throat as she looked into his eyes. She had never been the kind of person to open up easily, but in that moment, she felt herself starting to believe in the possibility of something more. Something real. "Liam," she began softly, her voice trembling slightly. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know that right now, I'm happy. I'm happy with you." The look on Liam's face softened, and he reached over to take her hand in his. "That's all I need to hear," he whispered, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. For a moment, the world outside seemed to disappear, leaving only the two of them, wrapped in the warmth of the cabin and the unspoken promise that, for once, they were both allowing themselves to truly live. As the fire burned low, they sat together, side by side, knowing that no matter what the future held, they had taken a step towards something they both deserved. A future where love wasn't just a possibility, but a reality. To be continued. The days following their weekend getaway felt different for Olivia. She couldn't pinpoint exactly when it had happened, but something inside her had shifted. She had always kept herself guarded, never allowing anyone to truly get close. But with Liam, it was different. The walls she had spent so many years building were slowly crumbling, and for the first time in a long while, she felt free. She could breathe. She could smile without worrying about the next crisis or responsibility. Back at the hospital, things were still demanding. Olivia dove back into her work, but this time, it didn't feel as overwhelming. She had Liam's steady presence to lean on, and for the first time, she allowed herself to enjoy the little moments. The small texts he sent her throughout the day, the way he made time to see her when he could. The connection between them was undeniable, and it made her heart race every time she thought about it. One afternoon, as she was sitting in her office, a sudden knock at the door broke her focus. It was Rachel, her best friend, and the one person Olivia had confided in about the growing connection between her and Liam. "So, how's the mystery man?" Rachel asked with a playful smile as she stepped inside. Olivia couldn't help but blush. "He's not a mystery anymore," she said softly, her smile growing. "He's exactly who I need him to be." Rachel raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. "That sounds promising. I'm happy for you, Liv. But I'm also a little curious. How are you really feeling about all this? I mean, after everything you've been through." Olivia paused, considering Rachel's question. She had been so focused on her work, on keeping everything under control, that she hadn't taken a moment to really think about how she felt. But now, as she thought about Liam, she realized that she was more than just okay. She was excited. She felt seen. And for the first time in years, she didn't feel like she was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. "I'm scared," Olivia admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I think that's a good thing. I'm not used to feeling this way. I've spent so many years protecting myself, guarding my heart. But with him, I feel like it's okay to let go. It's scary, but it's also the most real thing I've ever felt." Rachel smiled, nodding in understanding. "That's the best kind of scary, Liv. You deserve this. Just promise me you'll take it one step at a time, okay?" Olivia chuckled softly, a sense of calm washing over her. "I'll try, but I'm not going to push it away. Not this time." Later that evening, as Olivia was finishing up her work, her phone buzzed with a message from Liam. Asterisk, "I was thinking of you today. How about dinner tomorrow? I can't wait to see you." Asterisk, the words made her heart skip a beat, and she quickly replied, Asterisk, "I'd love that. I can't wait to see you too." Asterisk, as the evening turned into night, Olivia found herself reflecting on how far she had come. Not just with Liam, but in her own life. She had spent so many years focused on the hospital, on what everyone else expected of her. But now, she was beginning to realize that there was more to life than just fulfilling others' expectations. There was room for her, room to love, to be loved, to take risks. And maybe, just maybe, Liam was the person who would help her take those first steps into a future she hadn't dared to imagine. To be continued. The next day, Olivia met Liam for dinner at a quaint restaurant they both loved. The soft glow of candlelight reflected in their eyes as they sat across from each other. It had become their favorite spot, quiet, intimate, with just the right amount of warmth to make every conversation feel personal. As they settled into their usual routine, the weight of everything that had been building between them hung in the air, yet neither of them wanted to address it directly. Instead, they allowed the conversation to flow naturally, as it always had. They talked about their days, about small moments that had made them laugh or think. But Olivia couldn't ignore the fact that something had changed. There was a tension between them, a quiet undercurrent of something deeper that neither was willing to voice. She noticed Liam's gaze linger on her more than usual, his smile softer, and his words more measured, as though he was waiting for her to say something. After dinner, they walked along the quiet streets, the city lights shimmering above them. The cool night air wrapped around them, and Olivia couldn't help but feel the comfort of his presence beside her. It was as if, for the first time, the world had slowed down. She wasn't the hospital director or the woman carrying the weight of everyone's expectations. She was just Olivia, walking beside someone who cared about her. As they reached the park, Liam stopped and turned to her, his expression serious now. "Olivia," he began, his voice steady, but his eyes were filled with something more. "There's something I've been wanting to say. I don't want to scare you, but I need you to know how I feel." His words hung in the air between them, and Olivia's heart skipped a beat. She could see that he was searching her face for some sign, some answer. She took a deep breath, her chest tightening. "Liam, she didn't know what to say. How could she express what she had been feeling? How could she explain that she had allowed herself to care for someone like this, to open up in a way that felt both thrilling and terrifying? Liam reached out and gently took her hand, his touch sending a wave of warmth through her. "Olivia, I care about you. More than you know. I don't expect you to feel the same right away, but I want you to know that I'm here. For you. Whatever you need. Whatever this is between us, I want to see where it goes." His words were soft, but they held an undeniable strength, a certainty that made Olivia's heart ache. She stood there, frozen for a moment, caught between the fear of vulnerability and the undeniable truth of what he was offering. It wasn't just the promise of love. It was the promise of understanding, of support, of a connection that went beyond the surface. For the first time in a long time, Olivia allowed herself to truly feel. She squeezed Liam's hand, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I'm ready to see where this goes too." Her heart raced as she spoke the words aloud, feeling the weight of everything they had built together. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Liam smiled, his eyes brightening with a mixture of relief and joy. He pulled her gently into his arms, and for a moment, everything else faded away. It was just the two of them, wrapped in a moment of clarity, a moment that told them both that they were ready to take the next step. As they stood there in the quiet of the night, Olivia realized that she had been so focused on carrying the weight of the world for so long, that she had forgotten what it felt like to let someone else help carry it. But with Liam, she felt lighter. She felt like she could breathe. They walked back to the car hand in hand, knowing that the road ahead wasn't going to be easy. There would be challenges, doubts, and fears. But for the first time in a long time, Olivia was no longer afraid to face them, because she wasn't alone anymore. To be continued. The days after their conversation felt different for Olivia. It was as if a new chapter had begun, one she had been hesitant to open, but now, it was impossible to ignore. She and Liam continued to spend time together, their connection growing deeper with each passing day. The uncertainty that once clouded her heart had begun to fade, replaced by the quiet comfort of knowing that she had found someone who truly saw her for who she was. Flaws, strengths, fears, and all. Olivia had always believed that love was something that happened to other people, something she could never fully embrace because of the weight of her responsibilities. But with Liam, she was beginning to realize that love was not about perfection. It was about support, trust, and the willingness to be vulnerable. And as she spent more time with him, she found herself allowing more of her own walls to come down. One evening, as they sat on the balcony of Liam's apartment, watching the sun dip below the horizon, He turned to her with a smile that spoke volumes. "Olivia," he said softly, his voice warm. "I don't want to rush you, but I think it's important that I tell you something. I care about you more than I ever expected to, and I can't imagine my life without you in it. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to be part of it, together, with you." Olivia looked at him, her heart swelling. The truth was, she had felt this way for a while now, but hearing him say it aloud made it feel more real. She had never imagined she would be here, standing at the threshold of something so precious, so full of possibility. "I feel the same way, Liam," Olivia replied, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "I don't know what the future holds either, but for the first time, I'm ready to embrace it. I'm ready to be with you, to see where this takes us." Liam reached for her hand, his touch sending a gentle wave of warmth through her. "Then let's take that step together," he said, his smile widening. "No more doubts, no more second-guessing. Just us, moving forward." As the weeks passed, Olivia found herself more at peace than she had ever been. Her life was still demanding, but now, there was balance. With Liam by her side, she didn't have to carry the weight of everything alone. They faced challenges, of course, but they faced them together, hand in hand. One day, as Olivia walked through the hospital, her mind still lingering on the thought of Liam, she realized just how far she had come. She had spent so many years focused solely on her work, on the hospital's needs, on fulfilling everyone else's expectations. But now, she was allowing herself to dream beyond those walls, to envision a life filled with love, partnership, and a future that wasn't just about being strong for others. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a text from Liam. "I was thinking about our future today. What if we take a trip together? Just you and me. Somewhere new, somewhere special." Olivia smiled as she read the message. The excitement that bubbled up inside her was a feeling she hadn't allowed herself to experience in years, the thrill of possibility. That evening, as she and Liam sat down for dinner, she shared the text with him. "I think it's time for us to take that trip," she said, her eyes shining with excitement. "Let's make memories, just the two of us. Let's explore the world together, side by side." Liam's face lit up with joy. "I couldn't agree more," he said. "I've never been more ready to take on the world with someone." As they clinked their glasses, Olivia felt a sense of contentment settle over her. She had found her partner, someone who loved her not for what she did or who she was expected to be, but for who she truly was. And with that realization, she knew that whatever came next, whether it was challenges or victories, they would face it together. The journey ahead was unknown, but for the first time in her life, Olivia was not afraid of what the future held. She was ready to live it, to love it, and to share it with someone who made her feel whole. And for the first time, she could honestly say that she was excited for whatever came next. This was only the beginning. The end,